Kanë kalu 20 vite prej kur njëri për emrave më dashtën prej viktimave të luftës në ish Jugosllavi ka qenë Jeffrey Nice, kur është arrestu Slobodan Miloševići, kasapi i Ballkanit. Çdo viktim e krimeve të tij e ka pas një figurë dashtën, prokurorin e Tribunalit për ish Jugosllavi në Hague, Jeffrey Nice, cilin sot e kam të ftuar te ditari i Buzhalës. Mr. Nice, thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
How is the judicial system in Kosovo? Do you think that we are making progress? Do you think that we would be able to have a court here instead of sending somewhere else?
There is, I think, a general proposition that people overlook, namely that a country such as yours has a sovereign right to deal with crimes committed on its territory and to deal with it itself by its own people and indeed in its own language.
Yeah.
I think everything about the history of the special chamber or specialist chamber is quite extraordinary and most unusual. And it looked like that from the moment when the Marti report was published, and then turned to for the provision of Williamson's investigation, and then for the establishment of the special chamber. And at every turn, now you need to know that I was involved a little bit in this, working for the government, for Thatcher. I got on perfectly well with Thatcher. I have no idea whether of the charges laid against him he's innocent or guilty. I know nothing about it one way or the other. I'm not concerned about that. I was concerned about the process, which seemed to me to be very unusual. And so I reviewed all that evidence without coming to Kosovo, without discussing it with anyone in Kosovo, and concluded that Marti's report was essentially empty. There was nothing there. And if you read it carefully, as opposed to with an eye hoping to find something there, there is nothing there. Marti's report is written by someone who knows English well, who speaks it well, and who knows the difference between evidence as a word, proof as a word, or I think the words he uses is indication. He didn't really identify any evidence.
Yeah.
But the overall feeling of the report was bad for Kosovo. But it's also worth bearing in mind that there were 3 wars in sequence, really: Croatia, Bosnia, Kosovo. Allegations by Serbia about forced organ harvesting were first made about Croatia.
Oh, they did before coming to Kosovo?
Then about Bosnia.
Wow.
And then about Kosovo.
So they tried in 2 other countries?
It's one of those things that gets said in war, but maybe completely without foundation. And it appears to have been completely without foundation now.
Can Kosovo Assembly, would it be able to do something now? Or now it is too late? I don't know if you were aware, but Dick Marty recently in Switzerland said they caught Serbian Secret Service trying to kill Dick Marty.
Yeah, I know.
To make things even much more messier. So how do you read this? What is Kosovo's position? What would...
Well, I really don't know that I can express an opinion or advise further. At an earlier stage, when you parliamentarians or assembly members were being forced to vote, when your president was being compelled by Catherine Ashton to force the issue through, at that stage, there may have been things that could have been done by Kosovo through its president or through its prime minister. I suppose Thatcher was prime minister at the time, to confront the Europeans and the Americans who were supporting creation of the court.
They were saying at the time, if you don't do it, UN will do it. And it will be much worse for you. I don't know how...
That's what they were saying.
Yeah.
But those options are no longer open because the court has been established.
Yeah.
And so it may be too late. But it was open to them at that stage and earlier to confront what was happening. And they didn't. They were advised, they rejected the advice. What somebody like me can't know is just how powerful the forces of outside governments, America in particular, and the Europeans, is on a country like this. I just don't know. And I can't possibly criticize anyone, the President, the Prime Minister, or you as an Assembly member, for yielding to pressure when it is applied.
Yep.
But what your viewers need to consider is this: if a court is established for what look like oblique reasons, because on one reckoning, the court is serving the interests of Serbia rather more than it's serving the interests of Kosovo, if it is serving Kosovo's real interests at all. If you see something with apparently oblique purposes, if you do, and the means of its construction are not completely open and apparent, and a construction that was subject to the force that you've described as an Assembly member,
yeah,
and that has been well recorded elsewhere, and your viewers may want to wonder whether that court is properly a court delivering on the rule of law, or whether it's doing something else. I don't know.
But
I understand it is still being considered that genocide should be raised as an allegation by Kosovo against Serbia.
okay.
Now, it's true that in the indictment of the ICTY, genocide was not alleged so far as Kosovo is concerned. But it may be there were timetable reasons for that, because the Kosovo indictment was confirmed before I went back to prosecute the case. As it happens, that's not important. And the trial started very soon after I got back. It was all condensed into a very short period of time, and the judges decided that Kosovo should be tried first. So it may be that with more time, or if Kosovo had been tried as the third, not the first war, then maybe consideration might have been given by the ICTY to expanding the indictment to include genocide. Because it can be said, and has been by some, I think, that so far as evidence is concerned, there is powerful evidence of genocide where Kosovo is concerned.
Okay.
As powerful as there is evidence of genocide for Bosnia. But remember, genocide is a very difficult crime to prove. It's a crime that depends not on the outcome. Typically, it's associated with the terrible outcome, but the crime is in the mental state of the person committing it. So
The aim.
the aim of the person to eliminate a group. So nobody should get overexcited by knowing, if it is the case that your government is considering bringing an application or trying to bring an application to the International Court of Justice. But, and this is a long answer to your question, which I'm not prepared to answer in terms of numbers, because I don't think that will help you, your listeners, or me. But it is interesting to note that it is still possible to draft, maybe, a narrative, a history that would suggest genocide.
But they would say that since we are not part of UN, we are not able to submit regarding the genocide.
There's another problem for you.
Mr. Nice, It was a pleasure to have you here.
Not at all, Mike.
Thank you for your views and for your opinions regarding this case. I really appreciate, and our viewers appreciate. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.